autonomy over the story that they choose to like inherit.
I think
you
I'm
know,
comfortable
and
burning.
the
I think I'm comfortable burning the book of Dogecoin. I think that one can.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we can leave that to the annals of history. The summary can just be some dumbass Elon tweet, and you can just leave it there.
Oh yeah. What do you think about Elon Musk like buying Twitter?
I mean, I don't think it's good. I think that what I think about when I think about that is, I think that like there's no possible way that he can run all of those companies well. Like, I don't care how much of a superhuman he is. Like, you end up, you know, I'm reading The Power Broker right now. Have you read it?
I have not. You said, yeah, you mentioned it.
With it?
You mentioned it in your bio. It's about Robert Moses.
Yeah, Robert Moses. If you're, are you?
I am personally not familiar, and you know, we can also go
so
about this
Robert
like
Moses
we're talking for the
like
listener, you know.
Yeah, sure. So Robert Moses was this builder in New York City in the like early mid 20th century. He worked in public works, but was not an elected official. He was an appointed official, and he basically, through power games, amassed more power than any elected official, mostly through his building of parks and highways and things that the public use. So like he would get things done and enjoyed, like, for most of his career, like the support of the public. And he was a populist in that, like, he would wield the support of the public to, you know, crush his enemies basically. And the reason I bring him up in the context of Elon is like, this dude was like a Napoleon, like you know, any of these people who, he was relatively pious himself. His interest was in power, in achievement, in, you know, making things and being like a great man of history type of deal, right? And would sacrifice all else, would work, you know, 18, 19 hours a day, every day, and could run on low sleep and all of the things that you hear. But even somebody doing that, like, he got to a place in the 30s where he sort of reached the apex of his power and was, you know, living at that power level for decades. But there were so many things under his purview, and people like this are notorious micromanagers, right? Napoleon was this way too. And you just factually cannot. You start glossing over details and you start making decisions based on assumptions that are on faulty ground, and the information that you start getting fed when you're at that level of power for that long starts deteriorating because you surround yourself with yes men, or you don't know how to properly vet, you know, your circle because you have so much power. It's like a, you know, a common trope, and I feel like Elon is now starting to enter that era where, you know, like, he's obviously been doing this shit for a long time, but I think like the level of power and fame and, you know, public opinion that he enjoys today is probably only been a thing for the last 5 to 10 years. I would say, you know, as he's become like a you know, a celebrity CEO who still does shit. And so I guess I'm being long-winded, but I think when I think about the Twitter thing specifically, I just think that, you know, I can't imagine him really doing anything other than like loosening the, you know, free speech controls that they have in place, which just makes Twitter a more chaotic zone, and maybe he allows you to curate your feed a little bit more. I don't know that it'll be like a material difference for Twitter. I think, and now I'll pose this question back to you. I think the more interesting question is like, what do you think of Elon Musk? Because I feel like what you think about Elon Musk is like what you think about a lot of things, you know, especially like mega trends in our society.
I definitely think he's not like a full-on egomaniac, but he's kind of an egomaniac. But at the same time, like, I think it's fine to be an egomaniac, in the sense that, like, he's very much not trying to hide a ton of it. I think with like the acquisition of Twitter, like it is high profile news. It's like kind of a big deal, but he's like at the very least, it doesn't seem like he's trying to like hide a ton of shit. Because like Twitter is such like a big, it's such like a big exchange for like ideas and like shit posting and memes and stuff. But then like there's like Wall Street Journal and all these things that are like owned by like Bloomberg or by like mega corporations, and how many of those like places have consolidated so much power but without nearly as much transparency or visibility or like accountability to the public.
Right.
At least like at least Tesla stocks dip a shitload when Elon Musk posts things, which is also not super infrequent. Like I feel like there should still be that kind of like visibility and accountability, like actual consequence when a billionaire does a thing, as opposed to like when they can kind of do it in the dark and hide behind so many layers of obfuscation, letting them just kind of manipulate things kind of in the shadows. This actually, I think I kind of wanted to ask about the power broker thing. So how much of like the consolidation of power kind of involved organized crime also? Because New York is one of those places that just like it's part of the backbone that like you can't not
actually surprisingly little thus far. There was like any big democratic machine, city politics is like full of like patronage jobs and stuff like that. But beyond patronage jobs, which are like that's just like a part of doing business in politics, like you have to convince people to vote your way. There's not like I said, he was a pretty pious dude. Like he got his way because he had the public's support. So like maybe in similar ways to Elon, he had a giant group of people who liked what he was doing or what they knew of what he was doing, and he was able to use that. And so he didn't really he didn't do very much bribery or like nothing actually illegal. Definitely morally questionable. I mean, he was a huge racist, and I guess like the things that he
Robert
did
Moses
that were
okay
and like so the things that the things that he did that were of questionable legality are like using whatever that thing is that allows you to like displace people so that you can build a public project in the public good. Like he obviously bulldozed over poor communities, but he didn't have like OC on the payroll or rampant corruption. I mean, that's the thing he ran on. He never took a salary because he was independently wealthy. His family was wealthy. He had no interest in money or access himself. And so like the people around him didn't, he didn't really have time for that kind of shit. So, it's like with anything, it's like none of these people are binary. None of them are all good or all bad. Like I think the question it brings is like, so our society, for better or worse, has lifted this person into like a stratosphere that is very far beyond. And like the questions that we reckon with are like, no one man should have all that power, right? Like that type of stuff is like, we, for better or worse, at least at this time, we need great leaders, right? We need people who can marshal the public support and angle us towards like a productive direction. We have not figured out a way to like run our society effectively in like a community, decentralized, grassroots way, which is one of the big appeals of crypto to me. Is like maybe the things that we need to allow that to come back into fashion are just better tools. And the tools can lay the groundwork for like the change in the mind that needs to happen for us to sort of bring governance and bring the impetus back to like local decision making and community projects and that type of stuff.